Hi, this video is an introduction to the website infrastructure on Umbraco. It is hoped through this video that a user will be able to add information and content onto their website, as well as remove and edit information. It will also touch upon how to log into the system, as well as settings related to donation items and adding users and roles. Now, the first point of call before starting is to actually log in from the URL which was provided to you from the N3O team. So we will use that at the beginning, and you will be redirected to the N3O login screen. Now, it's important to note that before logging on, that it is a requirement that you have an engaged user already on the CRM in order to access the Umbraco infrastructure. So it is important that you are first added from the admin on your CRM as a normal user, and this will directly integrate with Umbraco in order to log on. Now, once that has been done, you will log into your N3O login as usual. So in this case, we'll use this. And once you log in, you will see you have been authorized, and you will now apply onto a staging site. Now, this will bring you into the back end of Umbraco. Now, you'll see at the top we have a URL, and we have the word staging.n3o.site. Now, in this case, we can see that this is the back end of Umbraco. Just for information's sake, if you want to see the actual website, you can just copy paste the information up to just before the Umbraco, and in a new tab, you'll be able to open the website, your website that you have at the moment. But we'll come back to the Umbraco first. Now, it's important to note you'll see a number of options on this screen, and some of you may have different access capabilities as well. However, on the left side is the main content blocks, and we'll run through this first and foremost in order to get an overview of how the overall Umbraco infrastructure works. So from this screen, you'll see first and foremost we have at the top a number of menu items. Now, in most cases, you will only have access to the content menu, which allows you to add or remove content. However, if you are an admin, then you will have access to the user settings, and we'll come back to this at the end of the video in order to see how you can add and remove users as necessary. Now, on the left, we'll see the content blocks, and this essentially are the building blocks of your website. Now, the 3 or 4 main elements that you need to be aware of is number 1, home, and everything which is within that, within the cascading button. The second is giving. The third are settings, and the fourth is the template. Now, you will use other elements as necessary. However, these are the core building blocks of the website. And just to give a quick indication of what they look like, so the home one is basically referring to content, and you'll see a number of pages such as About Us. We'll have the appeals pages, we'll also have Get Involved, and this will differ based on your particular website. The second main element is giving, and giving refers to the donations and everything to do with collecting donations. So these are the donation modules, the forms, any upsells you may have, and the main donation page that you have on your website. Again, we'll cover this further on in the video. The third element is the settings, which is more to do with the back-end settings. And again, many of these things will be pre-configured by the N3O team, such as things related to analytics, etc. However, there is a part within settings, unfortunately called giving as well, which has information related to the donation items, which is also very important. Again, we'll come to this at the end of the video. And finally is the template. The template essentially has the footer and header options of your website. And again, this is important to be aware of when you are actually adding information to the website. So the first point of call before we get into the actual main content is to decide on the footer and the header. Now, the first point we'll look at is the template, and the template houses the header and the footer options. So if we go to a website which is currently under development, you'll see a number of options at the top, and you'll see the menu bar which is at the top here, as well as the footer at the bottom, which has information related to the charity. Now, these are completely customizable, and we'll show you how to do that now. So if you come to template and you click on header, you will notice that we have a number of boxes here. These refer to the actual main header items. So you can see appeals, emergency, religious giving. Here are appeals, emergency, religious giving. Now, if we open the emergencies, for example, you will see that there is some basic text there which is required, and then you will have a number of links. These links are actually the menu options under the main menu. So for example, if we go to emergencies, you will see Palestine, Morocco, Libya, and again you'll see Palestine, Morocco, Libya. These can be moved as necessary. You can move them up and down. So you may say, for example, that on a particular date or a particular period of time we want to highlight Yemen, for example, and this can be brought to the top, for example, and then we press save and publish, which will make sure that this comes higher up on the list. Now, in terms of adding information, what do we do here? Essentially, when you click on one of these, such as Palestine, it will have a number of things. Again, depending on your subscription and your website, which has been bespokely designed for yourself, you will find different options. But in this particular case, you will have link content, link external URL, and link text. These are the three which are the same for all clients. Now, very briefly, what would come under link content? We'll come back to this, but essentially this is where you would actually take information from the home, which would be under your appeals or your emergencies, and you would take it from there. However, we'll build that later for you in this particular video, and you'll see where that's coming from. But in this case, we've linked it to the Palestine emergency appeal, which essentially is a page which has been dedicated for this, and so this actually links there. It is possible, if you wish, that instead of someone being linked to within the website, it can be linked to an external URL. In that case, you add the URL here. And finally, the link text, which is what shows under where it says Palestine here, we will actually add whatever the necessary information is here, so we can change the name accordingly. And so here, this is how you build the actual menu bars, headers. And so you can add more content as necessary. I believe in many cases we may have restricted it to 7 or 8 just because so it doesn't become crowded. The same is for the footer. If you click the footer, before you go as well, of course, you have to press save and publish. And of course, this is the same for all of the other elements within the header. The footer is very similar. Apart from the fact that this has basic information which we've blurred here, but this basically allows you to add information as necessary about your particular charity, but this would have been preset as part of the onboarding. And so now moving on to the next section, which is the main section regarding content, we will come to the home tab. And home and everything under home refers to the content on the website. A lot of the videos, pictures, and text that you will be wanting to add, and the pages for the user. Now you will see, and you'll see a number of options here. But for many of you, you may see the word appeals, you may see emergencies. It does depend a lot on your particular design of your website and what was discussed with N3O prior to that. However, you may also see projects. These are the main pages which you'll see on your top menu bar, such as emergencies, appeals, etc. Now we'll get straight into the main actual projects or the main appeals. If you click here onto the appeals, you will notice a number of options under appeals. And also, if you click on emergencies or projects or whatever the equivalent on your particular system is, you will see a number of pages which may have been already preset. Now, in order to edit a current project or a current appeal, all we do is we click on the relevant appeal. So in this case, we're looking at the Palestine emergency appeal. And so here we can add the information such as the title. So here is just the title for Umbraco, so you can distinguish what that means. But this will be the title of the page, Palestine emergency appeal, for example, and this will be the metadata. And as you go down, you'll have a number of options, and you will see here a number of blocks already populated. Now, of course, because this is an introductory video, we're not going to go into every single option. However, this can be will be available on the support.n3o.ltd site, which has additional information. But for now, we'll talk about the main elements. So what we have here are a number of blocks. As you'll see, if you go down, you'll see this thing called add content. Now, these are blocks which represent the page. So if we go to Palestine, for example, we will see here that we have a picture, we have text, Palestine emergency, we have a donate button, and then we have a picture and additional text here and then we have other elements as per the design of the individual website. Now these basically consist of these blocks here. So to give an example and just to show you, we can see if we click on this hero donation form, you will see a picture is already pre-populated. This picture is the one which is of this lady amongst the rubble, which is at the top. Now if we go down, you will see another picture of an individual standing and text on the left. So if we look here in this particular in this block, we'll see the next block which says full width call out, no background. If we click that, we will find that it is the same individual, and the text which has been put, lorem ipsum dollar, which is just standard text we've put in for now, will be actually here on this particular side. So essentially this follows the same order. However you add these different blocks, they will actually populate in the site accordingly. So now, how do we add blocks or edit blocks? The first is, how do we edit a block? So if we want to edit any block, for example, we wish to change the information which is written here, or we want to change the picture. All we will do is we'll come into an existing block, click on it once, and we can change the picture if we want by deleting the image. So if we delete the image here, which I won't do actually, but if we were to, we could then add another image as necessary. Alternatively, if we want to change the text, so we may say that Palestine is going through a severe crisis. So we see we've added the text here at the moment. Now if we press save and publish and we refresh this particular page, we will see that this has actually changed according to what we have written. And so this will allow us to add, you can add text and you can actually make it bold. You can do other elements as necessary. Now, how do we add, and so there's other elements here. So for example, the button, again, this is the button content, the Palestine emergency appeal. We can add additional information. So this has notes as well. We won't go into the full details, but this gives a general idea of how to amend current blocks on the site. Now going forward, if we want to add new blocks, how do we amend that? So to add a new block onto a page, we can come towards the bottom and we can press add content. Now when you press add content, you will be given a number of blocks, and now this would have been explained prior to the onboarding, but these blocks are predefined blocks which have been done as part of the design, and they will differ for each individual client. Some of them may have FAQs, which will be a list of questions that one can do. One will have, for example, it may have a picture on the right and text on the left. As you go down, you may see, for example, image text panels. So we can see here that there's 3 panels here. So these are all individual blocks which have been designed for the charity. Now, in this case, if we want to add a new block, what do we do? So here we wish to, for example, add a block related to image text panels. What we can do before we insert that, we can choose any particular layouts. You may have multiple layouts in here. We don't, but you may have multiple layouts as part of your website, and these can actually be added. So if you do have additional types of designs that you would like in here, variations of these particular blocks, that can be done. If you just get in touch with N3O, that can be arranged. But in this case, we will select this particular panel, this image panel. Now, the first thing you'll find now is that this image panel has been added. So we may add a title. I will just put example 1, and I may put example of tiles. Now you will see the number of items which refers to the different blocks, and this to give an example. So here we can add an image. Now I won't be able to add the image because I may not have the right dimensions, but it's important to note that you need to follow the dimension sizes here, 350 by 220. Again, this depends on your particular subscription, and these are just basically the pixels. And of course this can be done by using editors, and it just makes sure that the picture fits in line exactly with the dimensions of the website. You will also be able to add any text as necessary that you wish to add, and then you can link the content, for example, to different parts of the website. So without going into too much detail, I can show you one already done. So if we go to let's say to the bottom here, this is a donation one. So if I close this panel and I go to the image text panels here, so you can see that this says give today, and you will also see choose donation amount. So this is referring to this panel. So we have, this is again an example, but 50, 50, 50, and we have these. So now what we want to do, for example, on item 2, we're going to call this, instead of saying the link, we're going to say that this is £100, and we're going to say this can provide a food parcel for a family. So that has been added. We won't change the image just for the sake of the video. It is also linked to the Palestine Emergency Appeal. We'll keep it as donate now potentially, or we may even just say purchase now, for example. And I'll just remove this one because we don't want to. And if I press save and publish and we refresh, we'll find that this has now changed to £100, and this can provide a food parcel for a family, and we've changed it to purchase now just for an example. So as you can see, this is editable. So whether you edit a current block or you add a new block, it's the same. Just for the sake of this video, we've just edited them, otherwise it would take long. But this is how you can add information as necessary, and the rest of the site is like that. When you go to any part of the site, whether it's about us, whether it's who we are, etc., etc., this is all editable from here. So for example, if you want to go to About Us, you'll see there's an About Us page. If you click on this About Us and you go down, you will see a number of blocks, and again you'll see the name of the charity, any information you want to do. If you want to change the name or the way of how this looks, so for example, if we go to About Us, where do we have, or who we are, for example. So if I come here, this is actually referring to who we are. So we have two panels here. We have a child, and you can see the child here, and it's our vision, mission and values. As you can see, our vision, mission and values are here. This can be edited, or we could even add additional blocks. We may want to put FAQs about the organization. We can add here an FAQ block, and we can put a number of parts of information related to the charity. This is quite flexible, so you can add as you wish, and this is how we add the information related to the content. As you can see, we have contact us, we have the blog, and in some cases you have other elements, but again, that can be done as part of an additional look into the system. Now the next section is the giving section, and this is related to the donation items that you are collecting money for. Now before we proceed, it's important to note that the way we have done the integration between the CRM and the website, it's important to note there is a flow, and this flow is extremely important, especially for charities who have a number of projects that they raise money for. Now in a number of cases we've found that organizations struggle with having an effective integration between the website, what they're collecting, and what is coming into their CRM. It has been a bane for a number of organizations. So it's important that in this particular section, we just run through very briefly the flow of how donation items and projects should be added to the system. And if you follow this convention, you'll find that you won't have any problems generally when you are trying to reconcile and import information into the system. So the first point of call is basically to say, before we continue, is that actually the donation or the projects are not made on the system or the Umbraco per se. They're actually based on your central framework, which is within the Engage CRM. So the flow essentially is for projects and donation items to be created on the Engage CRM. They will then be, once they are added, they will be then automatically transferred and connected to the Umbraco. And then from Umbraco, you are able then to choose from those projects, those which you want to market for a particular audience. So let me show you this in action. If we log into the Engage CRM of your particular organization. So if we go to N3O Cloud, Now here we're at the donation items or the projects section of the CRM. And as you notice, all of the projects which your organization collects money for will be here in this particular list. Now what we want to do is to show an example of when we add or amend any project item or donation item, this will automatically update the Umbraco, and we'll explain why this is important. So if we take an example, if we say baby milk, I believe is here. So if we click on baby milk, we'll see that this is in Yemen, and it's also allowed in where most needed. It is part of the general, and it is also part of the stipulation general. We may add now sadaqah, for example. Now when we save this, the Engage CRM, the way it has been set, this will automatically update on the Umbraco. So if we come to Umbraco, now if we start from the top, if we go to, okay, so now you'll see on the settings, under settings, if we go to settings and then we go to giving and you click on donation items here, if we refresh this, because we just added it, we will see baby milk is populated in the donation items under settings. Now what does this mean? Essentially this part of the system or Umbraco where it's under settings and giving, which is settings here and then giving, this holds all of the donation items and the fund dimensions that you have as your backup, essentially what is linked directly to the CRM. And this will ensure that there is synergy between the CRM and the Umbraco website at all times. So if we click on baby milk, we'll notice that it allows regular giving donation, and the locations Yemen and where most needed, the theme general and the stipulation general exactly matches what we put initially for the baby milk in the Engage CRM. Now once we have set that in the back end, this means that this is now available to be raised money for. Now if we come up to the top and we start from the beginning, now the actual giving section of this Umbraco allows you now to set the projects that you're going to raise money for. And depending on your subscription, you may see different things. You may see forms, upsells, donate page. So just to clarify, the donate page is the main donation checkout. This is essentially, if we go to the website, it's this where you have the main donate now. If we click on this, this is essentially saying that this information, this is the same as this donate page. This is this particular modal, and I'll explain that in more detail. If we go to forms, we'll see that there's a Palestine donation form that we've made, and it has a number of funds in there. This Palestine donation form, we have actually embedded it into the Palestine emergency page, and you'll see Palestine Emergency Fund. Now, so if we go back to this, we'll see how do we add information onto this donate page. So let's start with the donate one on the right. We want this as the main donate page for the user, and we'll find that we have just general and emergency fund in here. So now what we want to do is we want to add baby milk to this list. We only have general and emergency fund. On this particular page, we want to add the baby milk, which we've added. So we would go back to Umbraco and we would come to giving. And as we mentioned, we have forms, upsells, donate page. In some cases, you may have the donate page within the forms. It just depends on the setup, and maybe someone from M3O can help you for the first time. But if we go to this donate page here, and you'll see we have another form here, which we'll come back to in a moment. But if we click, we can see that there's general fund and emergency fund. So these are the two projects that we have put under this donate page. Now we want to add baby milk. So what we would do, we would click on the three buttons and we will add the fund. And here we will call it baby milk. And here you will be able to select the donation item as we had set in the settings which came from the Engage CRM. You will see here a list of the projects that you have, and one of them is baby milk. And we can set other criteria. We can actually make this restricted. We can add specific location, or we can set the location open. We can add a stipulation. We can do a number of things here, but without making it too complicated. It's for more advanced users that can become in a separate sitting or a separate guidance for you specifically. But what we would do here, we can press save and publish. Once we've pressed save and publish, if you are to refresh the site, you will notice now that we have baby milk. And if we click on it, it's a normal amount. Now, what we want to do maybe is we say, okay, this can feed 1 baby, 2 babies, 3 babies. We can add now price handles. So if we go back, if we go to this same baby milk, and if we go below, you'll see donation, which refers to single donation, regular giving. We can add price handles. So here we can add content, and we'll say, for example, £20 can feed 1 child. We'll add £40 can feed 2 children, and we may add a third, which is £60 can feed 3 children. Now, if we press save and publish, this is for a single donation. If we go back here and we press refresh, now when someone clicks baby milk, they will have the price handles which they can add here, and then they'll be able to donate now. And you'll see the explanation at the bottom as well. Now, how about if we want to create a separate donation form for a separate page? So for example, if we go to emergencies and we say we go to Palestine, what you'll notice that we have set on this particular page is we have set a donation form which is not linked directly to the top right, but this is a Palestine emergency page. But what you'll find is that we have only allowed Palestine emergency. So with the Umbraco website infrastructure, we can set individual pages, and the donation modals can also be set as per individual pages as you wish. So how did we do this? If we go to the Engage system, the first thing we need to do, as we mentioned, is we need to create a donation. So if we a donation modal. So if we come here to forms again, you'll notice we have donation page and we have Palestine donation form. Essentially here we will just press add donation form, and this will create this donation form here called the Palestine donation form. Now, once you've created the Palestine donation form, you will add the fund, and in this case we've added Palestine emergency fund already. And again, we had a donation item which was from the settings called Palestine emergency fund. So we've already added that. We may say now, once we've added this, we now have a bespoke form called the Palestine donation form, which consists of one project, which is Palestine emergency fund. Now, just for clarity, we'll add the baby milk here. So what we want to do with Palestine donation form, we will add baby milk. So we'll go to fund, we will call this baby milk, and we will add the donation item baby milk. Now, really, if you want to be accurate, you would actually have a location of Palestine. You may not have it here, but you may have it as well, where you would add Palestine. This will not allow me to add this because I don't believe baby milk has, in the back-end settings, has allowed the country, but we can try, but it may give a error. Here it said it's not permitted fund dimension. So we would have to go back into the Engage CRM. We would have to add Palestine here, and then it would allow us to add. But just to give an example, if we took this off and we press save and publish, now when you come to the Palestine fund, if we refresh this, you'll notice now we have Palestine emergency and baby milk, which you can again add, change as necessary. So how did we add it to this page in the first place? So as you'll notice, this is on the emergencies Palestine page. So what we do is, if you go to home and you go to the emergency, because this is of course under emergency, and you go to Palestine emergency appeal, you will notice if you go to the blocks, you will see the first thing is called a hero donation form. This is essentially this top one. If you click here, you will notice it says donation form here. This donation form is, so if we remove this, if we press add donation form, we are able to select one of the donation forms that we've already created previously. So we had the donate page, and we also have Palestine donation form. In this case, we are just adding the donation form here, and we press save and publish, and it will add the relevant donation form. So again, what you would probably do if you wish, it's not a mandatory requirement, but it's good UI UX for users in terms of that if they're on a particular page, they really only want to donate because they're showing interest for a particular cause. However, this is how you would add that, and of course if you need any additional help, then we're more than happy to help for that. So this was an introduction into how to add information onto the website, more from a content as well as a donations perspective. We do appreciate that it can take a little bit of time to get used to, but once this has been clear for yourselves, you'll find there's a lot of flexibility in how you can modify the site as per your needs. Now, the final part is the settings related to users and roles. Now, this is mainly for admin users. If you wish to add a new user in order to make content edits, etc., then the way this is done is that the administrator would go onto users, and we'd click users here, and you will see two things. You will see users and groups. Now, we would have set in the back end, we would have set the three main particular groups: administrators, client admin, and editors. Now, primarily administrators are N3O staff. So this is not really given to anyone apart from N3O staff. Client admin allows users to be added, and this is mainly given to 1 or 2 points of contact within the charity. And finally are editors. Editors is anyone can come in and make content editors, but they cannot add users as necessary. So these are the three main groups. If you wish to add a new user to your system, what we'd first advise is the first point of call is on the Engage CRM to add the user here. So you ask your administrator to add a user on the Engage CRM. And this is from the users and roles section. Once a user has been added, they may then come into this section, press onto users, and they will click the bottom arrow and they'll press create user. We advise do not use the invite user, as sometimes people do not receive the emails and then it can cause issues. So we say create user. And all you would do, you would add the name of the user, their email, and the user group. You would either assign them as a client admin, as an editor, as a primary, and you may add them as a client admin, but in most cases you will only add them as an editor. Once you have submitted this, you will be given a password. This is not necessary because they will log in through their Engage CRM. The only thing they would need is the correct login, and then from there they'll be able to access both the Engage CRM as well as they can access the back end of the Umbraco. We hope that's useful, and if there are any questions, please feel free to contact us on support@n3o.ltd.